Hey guys, what up? It's another episode of the Touchline Podcast. We've come back from our slumber, been resurrected, whatever you want to call it. Brett got his stuff back together.
Yep,
I
blame
finished.
me.
I finished having a baby. Anyway, I'm Rich. Got Brett,
What's up, guys?
and we're back after a little hiatus to talk to you guys about the beautiful game and Real Salt Lake. So this is episode 23. It's the Sebastian Jaime episode. Also the burrito +1 episode.
Dude deserves it.
Yeah. He wasn't part of the team, I don't think, yet when we had episode 22. That's how long it's been. That's sad.
We'll just call this the Argentine episode and throw Javi in there also.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Why not? We're all inclusive. So today we want to talk about some of the stuff that we've missed since we haven't talked, and the Colorado game, talk a little bit about kind of the RSL season in review, what we've thought of the team. Maybe we'll touch on the USA-Mexico game that's coming up this weekend and our fond feelings for Klinsmann. And anything else that happens to pop into our minds that we want to spew about. So without further ado, let's talk first about Colorado game that was on Sunday.
That was a win. I mean, at least it was a win, right?
Yeah. I actually thought that we played pretty well. I mean, it sucked that we didn't play well until they scored a goal. And their goal was a good header. It was a good goal. But after they scored the goal, I thought that we totally owned the game, except for whenever they had set pieces, for whatever reason, those were terrifying. Colorado's delivery, I thought, on the set pieces was really good. But their play from the run of play was not good.
Yeah.
So I thought that we played really well. We connected passes pretty well, had chances. I thought, especially when Sandoval came in, he increased energy. So
yeah, and it was also nice there in the second half that the defense kind of seemed to settle down and start playing like they should, and Raimondo wasn't really tested at all that entire second half, and that was nice to see from him.
Yeah, I think the defense played well. You know, the officiating, while inconsistent, I don't think was awful. We've had worse for sure. You know, there are a couple of plays I think we could point out if we wanted to that were egregious mistakes, but I don't think that we didn't get to keep the Rocky Mountain Cup because of the officiating. We just needed to score one more goal and we didn't.
Well, and something overall, just looking at stats, you can see that this was a typical what you'd expect out of RSL. They controlled possession. They very high passing accuracy. They didn't have the crosses like they normally do, but for the most part, this was a game that you would expect out of RSL, that you'd expect all season long. I don't know why we had to wait this long to see almost a complete game out of this squad.
Yeah, I don't know. They're so Jekyll and Hyde this year of, their performances. And, it seemed like since Burritos come in that they've been more consistent. But then, for example, Javi missed the San Jose game and we were awful. I mean, we were bad. It was bad. And we didn't deserve to win that game at all. So I don't know. I don't know why we can't figure out how to be consistent. I mean, we have enough veterans on the team, enough people that have been around each other, for a couple seasons. I don't know.
I'm not even gonna give credit or argue with the people that are, well, it's a formation thing, because the formation may change week to week, but these are formations these guys have been practicing for all year long. It's not like in the Colorado game when he went with the 4-5-1. That's something new. I guarantee they've been practicing that all year and they've used it a few times all year. So you can't use that as an argument. I think it's pretty much down to the point of you had a lot of defenders that got hurt and a lot of key players that got hurt, and now that they're all coming back, you're trying to build that chemistry, and it sucks to build it this late in the year trying to push for playoffs.
Yeah. No, I agree. You know, I sometimes get frustrated a little bit with, you know, blaming the formation. And if that is the case, then it's a little bit of frustration with the players because, you know, they say all the time that formations are really kind of semantics, you know, whether you call it a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 or whatever you want, you know, whatever you want to call it. It's just how the players move once they're in the game. And, you know, if we trotted out, say next week, you know, 3 in the back or something, you know, if we did that a couple times, I would feel like the players should be able to figure it out. I mean, they're professional soccer players. You know, we've been playing this 4-3-3 all season, and if that's still the reason we don't get it is because it's a new formation, then that's not good enough.
Yeah. I mean, and like me personally, I want to see him go back to the diamond for a game and let Javi sit, and I want to see what Burrito can do in that top of the diamond. I mean, I've seen enough dribbling and the smart decisions with the ball to, I think he could step in and it'd be flawless. I mean, I don't think it'll ever happen, but it'd be nice to see it happen.
You almost wonder if they will try that at some point where, you know, what game was that? I think that was the San Jose game where they put Burrito in that spot, I don't know, for the last 20 minutes or so. They took Gil out, I believe. No, Silva. And put Burrito in that spot. Wonder if they'll try just putting Burrito in from the start at that spot and, you know, having Plata, Sandoval, and Jaime or Garcia, you know, up in front of him.
Maybe let Jordan Allen play up top.
I don't know. I don't really think that he's a winger.
Just let him play everywhere, man. He's great everywhere.
Yeah. It was kind of bothering me how much they were ragging on him during the San Jose game. The announcers, they were ragging on him quite a bit because he kept getting torched by Shea Salinas. I mean, he still has, you know, work to do. When they switched sides and Tony got on Salinas' side, you know, Salinas didn't do anything the rest of the game. So, I mean, Tony isn't as fast as Jordan, but I guess his defensive positioning and skill, you know, I guess shines through.
Yep.
Not getting viewing time.
Skill will always beat speed. But I mean, Jordan, he's only 20 years old. I mean, the kid is, I mean, he's come up through the academy and he played in some college, but I mean, he is, I ain't going to say he's going to go out and be like Plata and dominating for the team and taking over games and stuff like that, but he's got that talent that you can just look at and be like, one day in the future, he's going to be starting for the national team, and he will be starting for Real Salt Lake week in and week out, and he will be pretty much the Javier or the Beckerman, that guy that you rely on.
Yeah, I sure hope so. I mean, he definitely has growing still to do, but he's done really well this year overall, I think. So here's a question for you, kind of going back to the Javi spot. I want to talk a little bit about Gil and Silva and that whole dynamic there. If I were to put you on the spot, I know they said that they offered Gil, you know, a contract since his contract's up. Yeah. And they also, I think, offered a contract to Silva. But if you only could pick one of them to come back, which one of the two would you pick?
Man. See, this is tough because I've been in love with Gil ever since he first showed up when he was 17 years old. You could just tell that he was destined, kind of like you can tell with Allen right now, that like he was going to be the future of a team. And the fact that he turned down playing for Liverpool I think it was Liverpool, or was it Arsenal?
I don't remember.
Either way, one of the two teams over there in England turned it down to play for Real Salt Lake because that's where he wanted to be. And I think he knew that Jason Christ could build him up to be that type of player. I'd want to pick him because I've seen enough out of him, but I've also seen too much out of Silva this year to not give Silva consideration. I mean, when he's healthy, Silva, he changes the game in a positive way. I like a lot of what he did. I know when the trade happened, I didn't like Sabo Rio leaving for Silva. But now that Silva's here and seeing some of the things he's done, I'm probably leaning Silva, but I'd probably be up all night thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, Gill's 21, Silva's 26, so there's that. I almost kind of feel like for Gill's development, I almost want him to go somewhere else. Like, I feel like he is stagnated for some reason at RSL, and you know, like we were talking about earlier before the podcast, you know, he plays for the national team. You know, the U23s are playing right now, and he plays really, really well. And then he comes to RSL, and you don't even notice that he's in the game.
Yeah.
And I don't have any idea why that's the case. You know, they've given him run at different places on the field, whether it's the wing, the hobbies, the attacking midfielder spot, the holding, spot where Luke plays, or, kind of the box-to-box guy.
Didn't they once let him play as a forward in the 4-3-3?
They played him out on the wing, like a Garcia Plata role, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's been everywhere.
Yeah, and I don't understand why he can't put it together for RSL, and he hasn't really ever had a consistent run of games. He'll have flashes where, he scored some goals and stuff, but I almost feel like it'd be better for him and maybe for RSL if we just kind of, moved on, so to speak, like let him grow in a different environment.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes me sad, like you say, because, everyone's been kind of waiting for him to be the next big thing, right? But we've brought in other like academy kids that are already like better than him.
Yeah. I mean, not only Silva, but Jordan Allen's shown enough that he can take over that spot.
I mean, even Saucedo, I mean, he's done well.
Yeah. Bofo's done awesome.
He hasn't had a ton of time, but I mean, you can see the potential there.
Yeah. I mean, and even when you look down at Real Monarchs, there's a few guys on there that I'd love to see in this RSL squad. And, and a lot of those guys that I see are midfielders. And so our midfield is stacked as enough as it is. Maybe it is time that we let Luis Gil just go find a new home, go find a squad that works for him. I mean, it'd probably end up being in New York with Jason, but
they can't get all their midfielders on the field already. They don't need another one.
Yeah, but it's Jason. He'd do it anyways.
I'm trying to think. The national media guys, they were talking about this a couple weeks ago about some different places he could end up. I'm trying to remember who they were suggesting. Maybe Orlando City. And who's the other one? Red Bulls? No, I don't remember. Anyway, there were a couple of places where they talked about.
As long as he stays away from Sporting, I don't care.
Yeah. Keep your hands off Peter Vermes.
Yeah. But I mean, this is a guy that, Arsenal, when he was a teenager, Arsenal wanted him. This is a guy that the United States national team and Mexico national team both wanted, and for some reason he can't just put it together in Salt Lake for some weird reason. Yeah,
it's so baffling. I don't understand. I mean, you would think he'd have great mentors and teachers, with all the veterans, that are on the team to help him understand, where he needs to be on the field and what he needs to do and stuff, but and maybe they do and he shows it for the national team, but he cannot put it together for RSL. I don't
Yeah.
understand. All right. Let's see what else. So who would you say so far is your MVP for the season for RSL? Since we don't have Giovinco on our team.
I think we do have one, and his name's Burrito, but
He can't be the MVP if he's only been with the team for a month.
he's shown enough for me in a month to give him the award. I'm gonna go with Javier.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Javi's he's Javi. He's been that consistent. Out of all the games I've watched, he's this one guy that consistently week in and week out just puts it out there and just wants the team to win and doesn't lay off in any match or lays off in any moment. He's constantly going.
You know, thinking about it and how bad we play when he's not in the game, it's almost like he's one of the only guys who seems to show that he wants the ball and he wants to score. Like, he wants to attack. He shows up in places demanding the ball. Give me the ball. I want to do something with it. Where a lot of times when he's not in the game, it's almost like there's no like leader of the attack. Like, nobody wants to take the initiative to get the ball and do something positive with it, right?
Exactly. There's
no one linking the play from the back to the front, you know, whether that's Gil or Silva or whoever has been in that spot. You just totally miss that when he's gone. I mean, we noticed that with the CONCACAF games, right? He's come in for the last, 20 minutes, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, there's our attack.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, I remember back when we were playing Seattle Sounders FC2 in the Open Cup. He got subbed in, and all of a sudden it was like the entire dynamic of that team changed just because he stepped onto the field, and he made that team a lot better just because of what he was doing. And even after the game, all he spoke about was, I wanted to go in there and I wanted to win. That's all he wanted to do. And so that's what he did. He went in there and he changed the entire game. And I think that's Javi's role, man.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think you want a team of 11 people who demand the ball like Javi does, but I mean, if you don't have anybody who wants the ball, like, they may all want to win, they might want to score, whatever, but you need somebody who's taken the initiative to get in the space, to, you know, show for the other midfielders and defenders to, like, here, give me the ball, you know, we're going to go attack. And so far we haven't really found other people that want to do that.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like he demands the ball. It's he wants the ball because he knows where it needs to go next. It's not like he takes it and dribbles it down the field and tries to score. It's he knows where it needs to go next, and he's that playmaker to do it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I'm watching, I almost feel like the team can be a little too deferential to him sometimes, where, you know, you have a counterattack going and he's not the fastest guy, but it's almost like they'll slow down to be like, okay, here you go, Javi, like, here's the ball, now go do some cool stuff, instead of, you know, just taking the initiative themselves. And maybe that's the problem, is they don't ever have to do it because they just let him do it all the time. Yeah.
The only thing that sucks is we're wasting Javi's prime years with, like, teams that are struggling.
No. I'd only say that this season has been the only real struggle. I think every other year we've had a chance.
The end of last year kind of sucked.
No.
But
I just kind of blocked that memory out. I don't remember that at all.
I've done that a lot this year.
But,
okay, so
I was gonna say, I mean, Javi for me obviously would be a good choice. One of the kind of the underrated choices, I think, maybe a co-MVP or a 1A or something would be Beltran, just because I mean, he has been so solid in the back, you know, pretty much the only consistent person on the back line, and I mean, you always can rely on him to be positioned well and, you know, play defense the way that we need to play. And anyway, he's just super reliable, and you kind of don't notice him most of the time, right? Until he does something amazing. But
yeah.
Anyway, I think it's just really cool just how kind of he just goes about his business and just, stops the other team from scoring.
I remember reading a article earlier this year that said if there's one defender that deserves to be named an MVP for this year, it's Beltran. And
Yeah.
I'd probably agree.
Yeah, he's done really well.
I mean, he doesn't got the stats to back it up, but he does all the little things that you expect, that you want your defenders to do.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really remember a game, like I said with the San Jose game, where they had a winger who was just tearing it up, and he goes over there and they just kind of die. It seems like every time we play a winger that's dangerous, if he's on that side, then you don't really see him. Whether it was like Brek Shea back in the day, or trying to think who else, Fabian Castillo, or any of those guys. If they're on Tony's side, they're usually pretty quiet, which is pretty amazing.
Yep.
So.
And then we also have to give a small shout out to Jaime, because that dude he keeps going when he's not injured.
That was another question I was going to ask you was, the Sandoval Jaime argument. It seemed like Cassar lately has almost leaned towards playing Sandoval over Jaime. And I can see, I mean, they're similar in a lot of ways with the fact that they run a lot, right? And they'll chase down balls that they probably aren't going to get to. But they also have different skill sets in the fact, Sandoval's bigger. I think he holds the ball up better. I think Jaime probably runs channels better, because he can play on the wing, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But I don't know. It's kind of just an interesting discussion of, I mean, who would you play?
I'd play Jaime. I mean, ultimately, it comes down to what the formation was. If I'm going to use, like they did in Colorado, where they only had one guy up top, I'd probably use Sandoval only because he can hold up the ball until you get reinforcements. But when they play that 3 guys up top, I'd rather have Jaime, just because he knows where to find the open space and get into those passing lanes and be kind of disruptive against defenders.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like that. I don't know. It's like I would lean towards Jaime as well, but especially lately, that the team creates more dangerous chances when Sandoval's out there, even if he's not the one on the end of them. Whatever he's doing to occupy the center backs or whatever, wreak havoc on the defense is allowing RSL to create more chances for whatever reason. And maybe I need to spend more time watching the video replays, but I don't know. We'll see the last couple of games what Cassar decides to do. I'm sure they'll both get run out because we have so many games.
Yes, tons and tons of games.
Twice a week. Let's do it.
So, with us having 3 games left, we're chasing. It's us, Portland, and Houston pretty much chasing San Jose, and I guess you can throw Seattle in there. And only us and Portland have 3 games left to play. Everybody else has 2. But pretty much our first game is against each other. So, knowing what we know about this team, is playoffs possible?
Sure, it's possible.
Is it likely?
No, not likely, but it's possible. It's probably about as likely. I'm trying to think. It's probably about as likely as when we made the playoffs in 2009. I mean, I think if I remember right, in 2009 when we won the championship, I think we had to get 3 results on the last weekend to go our way to even make the playoffs, and they all fell the right way. I mean, so first off, obviously we have to beat Portland. If we don't beat Portland, then we're screwed.
Yep.
If we beat Portland, then we would be tied with San Jose and Portland. We'd all have 2 for the last spot.
Yep.
San Jose would still likely have the tiebreaker. I think the first tiebreaker is goal differential. Our goal differential right now is -6, and theirs is +2. So unless we totally pummel Portland.
No, hold on. The first tiebreaker is total number of wins.
I thought they changed it this year.
Nope, it still wins. Then it's goal differentials. Or at least that's what MLS says, but this is MLS. They will change rules as they see fit.
Yes.
So.
Let's see. Can we do Wikipedia stuff while we're potting? Anyway, while we look that up, I'll continue talking. So, what were we talking about?
Pretty much if we tie, I mean, that's not going to count because we don't have 12 wins. After that, it goes to goal differential and then goal force.
Okay. Yeah. So if we beat them, then we'll have 12 wins, then goal differential. So then they'd still be ahead. And then if it goes to goals for whatever reason,
we still lose.
Yes, San Jose still has an edge, although it's a much smaller edge. If we catch them in goal differential, let's just say that we'll have caught them in goals for.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's possible. So San Jose, they play who? Dallas and Sporting?
They'll play at home against Sporting and then at Dallas.
Okay. Home, Sporting at Dallas. Portland, who do they play?
They'll play at RSL, at LA, and then close out the season home against Colorado.
Oh, suck.
So if we could take care of business against them, LA is fighting for the Supporters Shield. So there is a good chance that Portland's got to go into LA against probably LA's best 11 players and hope they can come out with a result.
Yeah, one other thing that's working against us, we'll have another midweek game. So we have the Wednesday game against Portland, then we play Saturday against Dallas. Then we have to play a Tuesday CONCACAF game.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to play our final game at Seattle. And depending on how Seattle's last couple games go, they might not be in the playoffs yet either. So they're for sure not going to be just sitting on their laurels.
I mean, they have to play at Houston, which is another playoff team, and then they have to close out the season at home against us. And we actually are pretty decent the past few times we've been to Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle's really funny when I've watched them this year. They're super, they've been really inconsistent like RSL, where you'll see glimpses or stretches where they play awesome and you're like, oh no, here we go. But then other times they're totally just discombobulated and you don't even know what team you're watching, you know? If Martins or Dempsey don't do something amazing, then they suck, you know? So hopefully they don't figure out how to play together before we have to play them, but they have RSL's problem where they just can't figure out how to keep putting it together.
Yeah.
Do you think Caleb Porter will get the axe if they don't make the playoffs?
If Portland doesn't?
Yeah.
Yeah. Only because this is a team that went out and got Borchers and a few other key pieces to make this run at finally making the playoffs. And if they don't get there, I say he's gone.
Yeah, I mean, they had that. Have they only made it 1 year? The 1 year they played us and we beat them?
Yeah, if I remember right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wish that, anyone loses their job. I'm not wishing that Caleb Porter gets fired, but.
Well, their previous coach was fired after losing to us, so.
Well, but he wasn't, he had all sorts of problems. That team was a mess. I think Caleb Porter, is a good coach and, has a team going the right direction. Well, it's not a mess anyway. So
I like Caleb.
We'll have to see if, they'll give him more time. I don't know.
Personally, I like Caleb. I think he's a great coach, but what I think and what that front office thinks is totally different.
So do you think we'll make the playoffs?
Yeah. I mean, just
look at that optimism.
I've been optimistic all year.
I know, it makes me sick sometimes.
The only thing that I say is I think we do make it. It's going to be close, only because I like our matchups. I like playing Dallas at home, and I like traveling to Seattle because it's short trips. But if we don't get 3 points against Portland, I say you shut the entire season down and focus on CONCACAF. I'd roll B squads against Dallas and Seattle.
Yeah.
I would, start Gil for 90 minutes, start Silva, start Bofo, tell Ramondo to pretty much sit down.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not against, Seattle's on turf, so maybe.
Shut it down.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we lose to Portland.
I mean, I don't think it eliminates us if we lose to Portland, because it also depends on what San Jose does, but I don't like our chances after that.
No, I mean, it would pretty much eliminate us. I mean, we'd be 6 points behind Portland with 2 games left, and they would have the tiebreakers.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. We wouldn't mathematically be eliminated, but essentially we would be eliminated.
And I'm just saying, if you go ahead and just get 9 points, that puts you right now would be second. So just go get 9 points.
I think if we win our last 3 games, I think we'll be in.
Yeah.
I don't think San Jose and Portland are both gonna win both their games.
Yeah.
Or Portland's case, 3 of their games. But yeah, I mean, I've been pessimistic since, I don't know, July that we were gonna make the playoffs. So I guess the fact that we still have a chance is good.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't helped ourselves, certainly.
I've seen enough out of this team in the past few years to be like, okay, we're gonna do it, because anytime we've always counted them out, they've turned around and they've pulled it off.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. Well, here's to hoping, and I guess all we can do is cheer and pray that they win, right?
yeah, I mean, pretty much this weekend we have to beat Portland.
Win on Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday. Vancouver needs to beat San Jose. And just let Dallas and Houston draw. That would tie us with Portland for the 6th spot. So cool.
Yeah. So any other RSL stuff you want to touch on quick before we talk about USA?
Nope, I think we covered it all.
Okay. So USA, Mexico. The next edition of 2-0
It better end that way.
Coming to California here on Saturday.
If it don't end that way, I'm with Landon Donovan and you fire Klinsman.
Man.
I'm even worse than Landon. I'm like, I don't want to win. I want a 2-0 win.
If we get the Mexico that played the first few games of the Gold Cup, we should beat them. If we get the Mexico that played the final, then they'll probably win, especially if the USA team that played Jamaica shows up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we both kind of switched forms there right at the end. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And, Klinsmann has this funny thing about talking about how, we're still growing as a soccer nation, and, criticism is normal everywhere else, but if we criticize him, then we don't know anything about soccer. And, he trots out people in all these formations and positions that they've never trained in or played in before. And it's just frustrating that he feels like he's above the criticism and doesn't have to answer to any of it.
Yeah. I mean, under Klinsmann, we've had 5 guys that could potentially either play for either Germany or Norway or some other country, and he somehow talked them into playing for the United States instead. And so, I mean, it got us guys like Mix and Aaron Johnson and Julian Green and Fabian Johnson. And I mean, it's great that he's building this roster, but he's built this roster and hasn't proven anything with it.
I mean, he's had some good results. I mean, we've won a bunch of times in Europe against some of the bigger clubs, beat Germany and Netherlands and, all that. But
yeah.
I wouldn't say that those results reflected the progress of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And it does seem like he is a good, what do you want to call it? Like, he's good at organizing the hierarchy of soccer in the US and recruiting players.
Yeah.
Seems like he is an awful tactician.
Mm-hmm.
And setting up the team to be successful. He is not good at that at all.
Maybe he should just take like a front office job with the national team then, and go out, go find a coach and play.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, I think you keep Klinsmann on and just hire somebody to actually be the coach.
Yeah.
Let Klinsmann continue to do his thing about, making the youth teams and everybody flow up to the national team.
Mm-hmm.
Get him to keep recruiting like he does. Let somebody else figure out how to put people in the positions that they normally play.
Yeah. I mean, I went back and I looked it up. Since the World Cup has ended, he only has 10 wins. His biggest win was the Czech Republic, but also during that time he has 6 losses, and they came against Jamaica, Brazil, Denmark, Chile, Colombia, and Ireland.
Yeah, the Ireland one wasn't good.
And that doesn't even count. The Panama game technically counted as a tie. But we technically lost it. Like, it was 4th place in a Gold Cup. So, yeah. I mean, the winner of this game gets to go play in the Confederations Cup. And, we've seen some weird things happen in Confederation Cups before.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great, but yeah, I don't know. I've been trying to just, I think me and probably most everyone else is more interested in beating Mexico just because it's Mexico than going to the Confederations Cup. We don't want them to have the bragging rights whatsoever. So I'm bummed. I'm excited for Beckerman and Raimondo, but also bummed because, I mean, they don't need the extra travel and wear and tear. I would assume Beckerman's going to play. I would assume Raimondo's not going to play. But I don't know. We'll just have to see how it goes. I'm hopeful for maybe like a 2-1 for the US. I'd like Dos a 0, but I don't know. I'm going 2-1.
Well, and I know that not a huge controversy, but one of the things they're talking about now is who, for you personally, would you start in goal?
Well, I don't think it matters. I'd probably do Guzan just because he's been starting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you just stick with him. I think he's played fine.
I say we go dark horse. Let's just throw Raimondo in there, man.
Well, I mean, of course I'd say Raimondo, but
yeah.
I think the real discussion is between him and Howard. And I don't think it matters which one they play. I'd probably go with Guzan just because, like I say, the people are probably familiar with him that are going to be playing in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he's been playing lately, so I think you just stick with him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'd throw him in the goal, and I'd keep a sub in case we go to PKs, and then sub Ramondo in.
That'd be amazing.
Actually, remember, that reminds me. It was back when we were playing, when we almost won Champions League. And I don't remember which game they were talking about it on the radio, and they're like, this game might go to PKs, this game might go to PKs. And Ramondo was on the bench, and the guys on the radio, I remember it wasn't Bill O'Reilly that game. I don't know where he was. They kept talking back and forth. Should we just use our last sub on Ramondo before we go to PKs? And like, it was a serious discussion on the radio for like half an hour about do we sub in a goalie? And it's like, okay.
Well, Philly in the Open Cup final, they subbed their goalie. I guess their goalie who had played in previous rounds and done penalty shootouts and had done really well. They subbed him in for the penalty shootout, and he guessed right almost every time, but the kicks were just better. You know what I mean? If you take a good penalty, it can be impossible to stop even if you guess right. But it was interesting that he saved a sub and subbed in a goalie at the end.
Yeah. But
who else did? It was in the World Cup, wasn't it? They subbed in Krul from the Premier League.
Yep.
What team was that? Was that Netherlands, I think?
Sounds about right.
Anyway, so that was interesting. In the World Cup, they even did it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess something going for us. I mean, you don't want to hear this, but Dos Santos isn't going to play. He's out.
Yeah. I think there was another one or two more starters. Vasquez, maybe, was that who I saw? I didn't know who he was. But they said that he was out too, was a likely starter. So,
and hey, at least they're not bringing that goalie from the World Cup this time, because that dude just creates a wall back there, and it's
yeah. I was trying to decide if I wanted to go watch it in the theaters. I guess some theaters around are showing the game.
That's amazing.
And I thought that would be a lot of fun. I don't know if I'll be able to convince the wife to let me go, though.
Yeah, just take the kids and go, man. Chill. Just tell her you're going to give her a day of rest and just take the kids and go.
Yeah,
so
I'll bring the baby back, hopefully.
But, all right, man.
Yeah. Well, hope you guys enjoyed listening to us babble about RSL and the national team and I don't know, whatever else we talked about. Hopefully it was entertaining, and if it's not, you can keep it to yourself. If it was, you can let us know. You can find me on Twitter at @frisbee_rich.
And I'm at A24Brett and at touchline_TBS.
Yeah, maybe the Touchline TBS account will actually start tweeting stuff again.
Yeah, dude, I am pretty much gonna get back into that. This work schedule they had me on was something fierce.
Well, glad you made it out alive, and hopefully we can do this for the last few weeks of the season and into the playoffs.
Yeah, we're going to the playoffs.
So we'll have to figure out what to do about next week. I guess we could do it on Tuesday night again before the Portland game. Or I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe we'll have to do it like on Thursday or something. I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
But anyway, enjoy yourselves, guys. Peace out. Talk to you later.